The gum who was sitting in a wheelchair explained about life and the Big Bang. Approximately 13.8 billion years later, two prime species emerged, Homo sapiens and Civis erectus, otherwise known as humans and food. The former devoured the latter for sustenance. Food lived in ignorance of this edible arrangement until one intrepid sausage learned of this inconvenient truth. Armed with this new knowledge, his true love, his best friends, and bath salts, a powerful narcotic that breaks down the interdimensional wall between the two species, food fought back. Now the Earth looks like a battlefield. Police officers warned everyone to stay inside their houses, lock their fridges, and arm themselves with bottle openers and corkscrews. The lady who was driving crashed her car and it exploded. Brenda Bunsen and Frank gave commands to other food items to fight human beings, and they eventually won the battle. The memories of lavash made Sammy tear up. Then they threw some human teeth into other foods. All of them happily celebrated their victory. Suddenly, the rain started pouring. All the foods started running for shelter. Brenda, Frank, and Barry held a plastic food container and ran towards the awning. Sammy got overwhelmed and hid under a plastic bag. Suddenly, the flood came up. Most of the food drowned in water. Barry jumped on top of a chip pack, leaving the food container, and helped some food items reach land. The food was flowing towards the drainage hole along with the water. Before Frank and Brenda fell, Gum rescued them. Gum tore apart before he could finish what he was saying to Frank, and he slowly died. Brenda stood beside Frank. The rain made them terrible. Barry ran towards Frank and Brenda and told them that lots of foods were missing and some needed to be rescued. The food became anxious and scared about their lives, while Brenda tried to calm them down, but it didn't help. The chili said it was safer in the shop well, and everyone followed the red chili. Brenda and Frank tried their best to convince them otherwise. When Frank asked about their dream Foodtopia, Sammy answered, "There is no Foodtopia." Even Sammy questioned Frank about his and Brenda's so-called ideas by showing the food that was ruined because of the rain. All the food items climbed up on their own units in the shop well and closed the door, leaving Brenda and Frank outside. Now Barry rescued some food and gathered them on a picnic mat. When he heard some noise from another food, he ran to help. When Barry came back with the rescued item, all the other food was missing. He ran towards the riverside and saw a human leaving on his boat. Barry carried JD all the way back to the city. Brenda and Frank ran towards them. He told them about everything that had happened. Brenda told him they needed that human. Barry saw the situation at the shop well. The roof might collapse at any moment, and asked what they were doing there. Julius and others argued against Barry. He told Frank that he was going to kill that human. Frank asked Sammy to join, but he refused. The three of them made a boat and started their journey to find that human. Stop the boat. Barry led them while Brenda and Frank followed. Back in the shop well, things became more terrible. The little grain of rice felt lonely when Orange talked about how he snatched a tooth from that rice. Barry found some footprints and a chocolate cover, then the soda. Brenda and Frank ran with him and found the humans having a fire camp. The three of them decided to fight them. Before one of them could open another food packet, Barry attacked him and eventually killed him. But Brenda and Frank wanted help from that human. Two other people walked towards the campfire and saw one of their companions dead. They started fighting back against the food. One of the men threw plates at Barry and made him dizzy. The other man, with his axe, killed all the food one by one and chased Brenda and Frank. Brenda and Frank climbed up a tree, and Barry started controlling Jack and killed Johnny. Jack accepted to do whatever Brenda, Frank, and Barry wanted. In the shop well, Sammy kept all the food entertained, but suddenly the shelves fell down and killed some food. The whole building was collapsing in front of Sammy's eyes. Jack came to help them, still under Barry's control. Before somebody could get hurt again, they all ran outside the shop well. Frank told everyone that they didn't belong in the shop but in the city. Jack asked what he should do now. Frank told him to leave, but Barry threatened to kill him. Sammy and Barry discussed how they should end Jack's life in front of him, and he began to panic as Barry kept hitting him. Brenda took Frank to a treehouse as a surprise. They both enjoyed the view from up there. In the city, all the food started fighting and running to make each shop their home. Jack was cruelly tortured by Barry and Sammy. They showed Jack the crowd of food waiting outside for his death. Sammy held auditions to select food items to burn the human. Suddenly, a crow attacked Sammy, and all of them ran for their lives again. Tried to kill the crow but couldn't. Brenda and him ran to Jack for help. He asked them for some water. Frank told him that if he needed water, he had to solve their problem. Barry catching the crow's attention, and before the crow could snatch the food, pulled a dead human as a scarecrow, which made the crow fly away. Barry complimented Frank and Brenda for the idea, but Frank said it was Jack's idea. As soon as everything returned to normal, Sammy announced, "Burning Man is back on." Frank and Brenda asked Barry to delay burning Jack because he had saved them twice, but Barry opposed them and insisted he would burn Jack that night. During the concert, the small food items were left out by the bigger ones. Julius noticed this. He allowed the small ones upstairs, but in return, he wanted human teeth. Jack tried to untie the rope knots. Barry and Sammy were excited to end his life, while Brenda and Frank felt bad about killing him. They decided to rescue Jack without Barry knowing. Julius collected many teeth from the small food. Frank and Brenda planned to swap Jack with another dead human. Frank used the same trick as Barry to move the dead man. Frank and Brenda rescued Jack by swapping him. All the food became very happy. Barry looked for Brenda and Frank, but couldn't find them. They had taken Jack to their treehouse. Jack thanked both of them, but then told them he was hungry and any food item was okay for him. A sudden regret fell on Brenda's and Frank's faces. The food items used human teeth as their currency. Tuna and baked beans had a car race while others enjoyed it. Julius came in and said he was happy to buy their homes. He showed lots of human teeth and agreed to buy the house. Sammy noticed some food paying attention to the television. He told the cinnamon logs he was interested and was told to get his own broadcast system. Sammy fought back and kicked the cinnamon logs out, then started entertaining the food again. Brenda and Frank returned to the city while everything had changed. Barry asked if he could hang out with them all day and noticed a foot inside a rolly shoe. Brenda and Frank realized foods were stealing teeth and needed a system to stop it. Barry became energetic again. Brenda and Frank hurried back to Jack and gave him a woman's foot as food. Jack refused to eat it. Brenda and Frank left the city. Barry created a task force to patrol the streets and stopped the bad food, including the popsicle, and took him to court. Popsicle said he wanted a freezer, or else he and his younger ones would melt to death. Then he melted completely, shocking everyone. The court moved on to the next culprit. Brenda and Frank looked at the culprit's situations and realized they had something in common, and understood that teeth were used to barter. They followed some food and witnessed a slum, feeling bad about punishing them. Frank suggested asking Jack for help, but Brenda refused and walked away. Frank had an idea that the food should give teeth to those without any, and Brenda agreed. Brenda and Frank asked Sammy to announce their decision. Sammy arranged a reality show and invited them. They shared their ideas with all the food, but Julius opposed them and argued that Brenda and Frank were telling others what to do. Julius asked the crowd if the foods were better off before the revolution. Everyone nodded yes. Julius declared that the food would choose who is in charge, and if they chose him, he would do a better job than Brenda and Frank. The crowd cheered for him, and Sammy asked the foods to choose among them. Everyone took Julius's side. Off camera, Sammy told Brenda and Frank they were doing a good job, but Frank insisted Sammy had ruined everything. Barry was still chasing thieves and noticed a human footprint. Jack in the treehouse cried while eating the human foot. Calling himself a cannibal, Julius's business grew better. The egg who worked all day received a tooth as salary, returned home, and later cracked accidentally while trying to help a colleague. The whole egg family died, having a chaotic death. Before Sammy could show the leader competition, he was arrested. Brenda and Frank were also arrested while giving a speech. Julius gave a tooth to the police to arrest them and claimed his teeth belonged to other foods and that Brenda and Frank wanted to take them away. He made fake allegations. Even though they were kicked out of their rally, Brenda still believed in the integrity of the food court. They went to court to see Sammy's case. Julius presented a case of teeth to the radish, and she announced that the electronics store legally belonged to Sammy. Frank became frustrated. Brenda tried to calm him down. Barry and Ice-T found the rope which was tied on Jack's hands. Frank and Brenda talked about Julius and his wrongdoings. Jack heard them and suggested ideas Brenda didn't like, and she dragged Frank away. Sammy thought about the court and met Julius, who said he had bought all the televisions but needed Sammy to work for him. Sammy agreed. Frank and Brenda tried to make teeth by doing auctions but only earned 11 teeth, while Julius paid others to hand out stickers for him. Frank asked how they could compete. Brenda said they should go door to door to spread their message, and they split up. While Frank passed in front of the electronics store, he saw Julius and Sammy talking badly about him and Brenda. Frank confronted Sammy, who said Julius had asked him to do that. Julius offered Sammy cars and hot food. Frank, disguised as a potato, stole a case full of teeth and drove away. The police chased him. Brenda walked door to door while Barry followed Frank but lost his trail when Frank braked suddenly and Barry flew into the water. When Brenda came home with very few teeth, Frank surprised her with the teeth he had stolen. Brenda instantly understood the potato was Frank and became very angry. Frank told her how amazing it was, and Brenda talked about wanting equality for all food, which made Jack laugh. She asked why he was laughing. He answered that it would never work, and Frank agreed with Jack, making Brenda angrier. Frank explained Jack wasn't a bad guy and shouldn't be treated that way. He said Julius lacked only Jack, and to win the Foodtopia election, they needed to trust Jack. Brenda became sad and angry and picked up a blade knife, walking towards Jack to end his life. But Frank stopped her. She asked Frank to choose between her and Jack. He apologized and chose Jack, and Brenda walked away in tears. The next day, Sammy's show talked about the mysterious potato and the previous night's activities. All potatoes in town were arrested, while Barry continued to investigate Jack and still believed he was alive. No one helped him. Barry realized Frank had stolen the teeth. Back at the treehouse, Frank told Jack all the bad things about Brenda. Jack told Frank about his own breakup and tried to comfort him, then taught Frank how to win a debate. Brenda visited the poor food and stood beside them. Suddenly, Barry arrived and asked where Frank was. Brenda tried to run away, but tripped. Barry connected the dots while Brenda confessed they had taken Jack away, which made him feel bad because he never thought his friends would do that. She spoke about society's current situation, and Barry agreed to help rescue Frank from the human. When they get there, they witnessed a horrifying scene. Jack took Frank and ran towards the forest. In the forest, Frank was frustrated because he wanted to win the debate but couldn't focus because of doing nasty things with Jack, so he decided to end it. Julius was angry because Brenda and Frank had pulled ahead, and he wanted Sammy to spread bad stories about them. The debate started. Brenda stood up alone and told everyone they shouldn't follow the same things and spoke about getting rid of teeth. The debate turned miserable when Brenda revealed what Frank had been doing with Jack. Frank tried to oppose her, but couldn't. They fought on stage. The debate became a mess, and Julius became the new leader, leaving Brenda and Frank alone on stage. The crowd celebrated Julius's victory, while Vayner showed Sammy the two sides of the city, the poor and rich, and wanted to show them on TV. But Sammy refused and felt bad for a moment. Sammy threw a party to distract himself. Brenda and Barry watched Sammy and talked about how much he had changed. Barry also mocked Frank with Sammy. Frank apologized to Barry and Brenda. Barry walked away. Brenda forgave him but asked for time to be okay. They looked at the town, wanting to save Foodtopia, and Brenda and Frank walked away separately, while Barry secretly overheard their conversation. Jack was throwing and breaking plates when Frank showed up and asked how the election went. Frank said it went badly and told Jack he wanted to break up, which made Jack feel very bad. Jack tried to win Frank back, but Frank wanted Brenda and Barry more than Jack. Barry, ready to attack Jack, just watched. Sammy had another party, and Barry told him good foods can go bad and that they have the potential to be good again. But Sammy refused. Sammy grabbed Barry by the throat and warned him not to say Lavash's name again, then kicked Barry out of the electronic shop. At the same time, Brenda went to see Julius, but was kicked out by the guards. She got inside Julius's house through the vent and saw him chained up. He told her to run before she came, and Brenda saw the small little white rice who was controlling him, explaining why she was doing this to him. The rice told Brenda how she was treated and how she suffered in the shop well because of her size. When she saw Barry and his body-controlling method, and so the rice used the same method on Julius. Now, a fight started, and in between Julius, controlled by the rice, lied to Brenda that the rice is outside his body. He tried to attack her, but she fought back. He threw her into the sink, but she held the tap. Meanwhile, Frank was looking for her and saw her heels outside the vent. Frank got inside and finally found Brenda, but half her body was gone. Brenda was about to die. She passed away in his hands. Frank was arrested, being framed for Brenda's murder. The Foods made a statue of Brenda. The whole city was in tears, including Barry. Frank was in jail, depressed. Sammy was also nervous, started sobbing as he saw Lavash in the mirror, and apologized for not helping Brenda. Julius told Sammy that Frank had killed Brenda, and said if Sammy reported the story, he could stay, but if not, he would replace him with another donut. Sammy left while the donut took his place. Sammy and Barry visited Frank and said they trusted he couldn't have killed Brenda. They gave him hope and planned to bust him out of prison. Vayner interrupted and showed them a recording of Brenda that proved the Rice, not Julius, was responsible. Barry and Sammy ran with the phone to show others the truth. Jack was in the forest grilling a human leg while using drugs and started to eat that leg. Sammy and Barry watched him while hiding behind a tree and asked for his help. Frank was sentenced to death and taken to the grills while all the food cheered for his death. Jack, Barry, and Sammy watched from a distance. Barry told Jack he could rescue Frank. Jack, with great precision, threw them through a vent and they landed on the donut. Sammy took the smartphone and ran towards the camera. Frank was very close to the hot grills when Sammy's announcement stopped everything. Spams entered inside to stop the broadcast, but Barry kept fighting. Sammy showed the video recording and everyone saw the Rice was behind it all. The Rice tried to escape, but Barry attacked Julius and forced her to come out from his body. He grabbed the Rice and tried to break her into two for Brenda's sake. But Frank stopped him. He placed the Rice on the floor and told everyone Brenda didn't want to hurt others, but wanted everyone to be happy in Foodtopia. Frank told everyone he forgave the Rice and asked others to forgive each other. But the Rice was snatched by the crow, and all the food were confused about who would be the next leader. Frank asked them to throw away their teeth and live happily like Brenda had wanted. And while some threw their teeth away, the food asked why they should listen to Frank and ran towards the shops to make them their homes. Frank felt bad and useless. He looked at a drawing of him and Brenda at the treehouse and remembered what she had said. Again, a debate started among the food, and suddenly Frank returned with Jack. All the food tried to attack Jack, but failed. Frank told everyone they were not allowed to make rules anymore. Only he could. And Barry asked what he was doing. He explained it was the only way to achieve what Brenda wanted. All the food were terrified by Jack and Frank, forced to comply while a drone watches everything from a distance.